guys, it's Sunday evening, which means it's time to start a new weekly reading vlog. I have just finished Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This is a weird book. It's a very weird book. I gave it 4 stars though because it kept me hooked. The intrigue was really high with this one and I really liked the world building. This is about Piranesi, who is stuck in this massive labyrinth of hallways. There are hundreds of them, if not thousands of them, and he hasn't explored them all. He lives in these halls which are completely disconnected from real life. It's a mindfuck of a book because for the most part you don't really know what you're reading. You don't know what's going on. I enjoyed it. It's really quick. It's like 250 pages and I finished it pretty shortly after I wrapped up my last weekly reading vlog. It might be one that lingers. It did make me want to pick up Susanna Clarke's other book, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which sounds similar to The Night Circus in a way, with the sort of dueling magicians. So I might have to give that a go. I'll see if it's an audio. Yeah, we'll start the weekly vlog off with a book read. And I've just started this one, the Hawthorne Legacy, which is a sequel to the Inheritance games. I've literally just started it. I'm on page 14. I think I can probably finish this one before work tomorrow. I don't start till 11:30 tomorrow, and then I finish at 6:30, and that's it for the week. So that's a very nice week tomorrow. I am dog sitting though, so not fully off the hook. But yeah, lots of time to read in the week coming, and hopefully I'll be able to finish this one first. And this is on my Hopperthon. I think it's for mystery thriller. I don't think it's on magical readathon, so that will help me towards my goal. And then probably Jade War, not on my TBR, but there's only so far I can trust my TBR before it makes me want to read something I'm not in the mood for. I did start The Downstairs Girl by Stacey, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with this book. I have only read like 30 pages. There are just other books I want to read more. I will get to it by the end of the month because I'm absolutely determined to read everything I put on my TBR. Even if I end up switching out some of the prompts, I haven't switched out anything for The Downstairs Girl, which is for history. There's not many historical books I read, so I don't think there's going to be anything to switch it out for. But I don't want to, I don't need to. It's the start of a new week. Guys, it is Tuesday and I now have a few days off work, so hopefully lots of reading's gonna get done. I finished the Hawthorne Legacy yesterday. This was 4 out of 5. It wasn't quite as good as the first book, but just because the first book was so fantastic, this was still a really good read. It was a really quick read because it's like 88 chapters in 350 pages. So short chapters, a lot of action. It's really fast paced. If you like the film Knives Out, then you will love this series. It's a similar sort of premise. One of the wealthiest men in America, is like $48 billion, dies. And instead of leaving it to his family, he leaves it to this unknown girl, this randomer who is really struggling to put the bills together. And part of the agreement to her getting his whole legacy is that she has to live in his mansion with his family for a year. But there's all sorts of puzzles to solve. He left loads of little clues and games, and I absolutely love that. One of my favourite things in books is when there are puzzles to solve. So it's just a really fun romp of a read. This wasn't quite 5 stars, but I'm still really looking forward to book 3 in the series, which is, I think it's The Final Gambit. I don't know when it'll be out. This only came out a few days ago. I highly recommend that if you're trying to get out of a slump, to try the first one, which is the Inheritance games. As far as my actual TBR goes, things are going pretty well so far for September. I have only 3 prompts left for Magical Readathon and 8 for Hopperthon, which sounds like a lot, but there is a bit of doubling, I think. I think there's only 1 doubled actually. Yeah, that's 11 books in total. Well, I think 10 with the doubled up prompts. and I've already read 12 so far this month, and there are still 16 days to go. So 11 should be very doable, especially now that I've got 6 days off in a row. I think I should be able to complete that as long as I can actually stick to the books on my TBR, because I've already strayed again. I started Jade War last night. I wanted to start something new for Rose Sprints, and I didn't get much read during the sprints because my sister came home and needed food cooking for her and wanted to watch Modern Family, which I can't complain about because it's one of my favourite shows. It's such a good comfort show. I absolutely love it. But yes, I am now page 92 of Jade War. Again, really enjoying this. I couldn't stop thinking about the characters after I finished Jade City, so I'm very glad that I did my little impulsive trip to Waterstones to buy these books. I think I'm going to go to Waterstones again today. I need to buy a physical copy of Black Sun because I've tried starting on audio and I'm not getting into it. And when I told Ro that during her sprints, she threatened to come and beat me up if I don't get into it. So I'm going to try and read the physical copy and see if that's any better. This is a chunky book. This is 587 pages. So it's going to take me a while to get through, seeing as it took so long yesterday to reach page 92. But I am trying to slow down my reading a bit and appreciate books more while I'm reading them. Especially with something like this, a big fat political fantasy. I need a bit more time with the book to comprehend what's going on. And I don't have the audio for this one. This one I am just reading physically. With the last one, I listened to the audio for most of it and then picked up the physical copy for the last 120 pages. Because the audio was really cheap. I don't know when I'll finish it. I might double up what I'm reading to try and get through my TBR. I do still have The Downstairs Girl on my TBR, which I started. I've taken it off my currently reading on Goodreads just because I'm not actively reading it right now. But yeah, maybe I'll pick that up later because that's a quick read. I managed 50 pages in a lunch break, so that shouldn't take more than a few hours to get through. That is on my Hopperthon TBR for history, so that'll knock one off my TBR, so I need to get to it. I've taken the dog for a walk and I've been to Waterstones, and I now have a copy of Black Sun by Rebecca Rowan Horse. So hopefully Ro is no longer going to have to come and beat me up, because I think I will prefer it physically to the audio version, just because I'm finding the audio quite confusing, and I find it a lot easier to understand a book if I can see the words on the page. So audio is great if I already have an idea of the story, but when I'm diving in completely blind to quite a heavy fantasy, I think I need to start with a physical copy. So yeah, I picked her up and now she doesn't want to leave. It is, oh gosh, it's after 10 o'clock and I have just finished an audiobook that I was reading on Scribd called The Darkness Outside Us. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's quite a new release. It's a meh. It's a 3. Not on my TBR, but it was one that I'd wanted to get around to. And because it's audio, I thought, well, I'm not going to, I'm going to be listening to it when I wouldn't normally be reading it anyway. It just didn't do anything for me. It reminded me a lot of Sean David Hutchinson's most recent book. There were a lot of very similar plot points. And I can't remember if I DNF'd that book or gave it a 2 or 3 stars. Again, just a bit boring. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. Well, obviously it did, because it's set in space and like nothing's as it seems, as per. But yeah, nothing shocked me. And a lot of the reviews are like, oh, I didn't see that coming, there's loads of twists and turns. But none of them just came out of the blue. It was just boring, and I'm tired. And it was nothing special. I am still reading The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee. I'm 75 pages in still, as I have been for 2 days. There is nothing wrong with the book. I'm just not feeling it. And I think I'm going to keep going with it tonight. And if I'm still not feeling it, if I'm not up to like page 150 by the end of the night, then I think I'm going to call it a DNF and just switch something in for the prompt. I could possibly double up Once and Future Witches, because I can't remember which I've used that for. I might have already used that for Bookopoly. If not, then I will find something else. I'm disappointed in myself more than the book, just because I'm not engaging with it. And I don't think it's badly written. I like the main character. She's got a very strong sense of character. I'm just not feeling it. And I've been reading really slowly recently. I know I wanted to read slower and appreciate books, but I just feel like I've been doing other things instead. But like time-wasty things. I've got one day tomorrow, just a chill day hopefully. Then Friday is going to be busy because I'm driving my sister down to Swansea and back again in one day. So that's 7 hours of driving, plus however long we're in Swansea for. So, and I won't be able to listen to an audiobook on the way down because I'm driving my sister. So we'll have Taylor Swift probably for 3.5 hours. I will listen to an audiobook on the way back though. So if I can find like a 7 or 8 hour audio, because I listen on double speed, that I'll get a book read. I did really want to get through a lot of my TBR today. Well, not today, this week that I've got off. And I've had 2 days off so far and barely read anything except for a disappointing audiobook and a third of a disappointing YA historical. I am 121 pages into Jade War still. I haven't read any of that today. But yeah, that's a bright spot in my reading week. I'm still really enjoying that. I have bought and built a TBR cart today. I have filmed that, the buying, the building, the decorating. So that will be up probably on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. I can't remember anymore. But yeah, so that took up quite a bit of time because I'd already been into town once today and I ended up going back again to buy a TBR cart from Hobbycraft after I watched Spoopy Hole's video. I'm going to try and read The Downstairs Girl, and if it doesn't work, then I'm going to go and pick up Ghostwood's song, because for some reason that one's calling to me. I don't know much about it. I've never read anything from the... It was her debut novel, so nothing else to read. I will see what else I can find for historical. Hi guys, it is Thursday evening, it's 8:30 and I still haven't got that much read. I've DNF'd The Downstairs Girl, absolutely nothing wrong with the book, I'm just not in the mood for it. I decided that there's no point slogging through when it's just not the sort of thing I want to be reading at the moment. So it's more of a hibernation than a DNF. I might come back to it in the future when I'm feeling like a YA historical. At the moment, I'm just not. I'm in a bit of a sort of fantasy, sci-fi, that sort of mood. So I have picked up Ghostwood Song by Erica Waters. This is slightly paranormal, ghosty. It's about a girl called Shady Grove whose dad has died, and he had this magical fiddle that he could use to sort of conjure the spirits of the dead. And Shady is now desperate to find and play his fiddle because her brother has just been accused of murdering her stepfather. She wants to conjure the spirit of the stepfather to find out what really happened, but there's ghosts and there's mysticism and there's a dark forest. I'm enjoying it so far. I am just over halfway. I'm on page 184. I really want to finish this today. I've done a lot of just time wasting again, as per usual. I've ended up playing Sims for a few hours, which I haven't done in ages. I go through phases with Sims where I'll play for like 6 hours a day for weeks, and then I won't touch it for 2 years. I've started the audio of The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane, which is, again, it's my favourite trope. It's the reality dating show romance trope. And the two protagonists are Dave, who is, he's like a showrunner, sort of. He's a behind-the-scenes guy on this bachelor-style dating show. And Charles, or Charlie, who is the contestant on the show. And Charlie is supposed to be choosing from 20 women who he wants to fall in love with. But he's very awkward, he's very anxious. He does seem autistic coded. I don't know if he is autistic or if that's just how he's coming across to me. And I'm assuming that Dave and Charlie are going to get together at some point eventually. I haven't listened to much of it. I think I'm only like 2 hours into the audio. So yeah, those are my two very different moods. Got adult romance and YA paranormal. I've also managed to I've managed to find a way to shove Jade War into my TBR because I've DNF'd the Downstairs Girl. I needed to find something else to put into the history slot. So I've taken The Once and Future Witches out of Big Book, moved that into the history slot for Book Hopperthon. So then the Big Book slot was empty. Jade War fits because it's over 500 pages. So there's been a little bit of a scoot around with the prompts, but at least now Jade War is on my TBR. I have started to plot out my Spoopathon pages. So those are just all of the prompts. Those are the rules, and that's just my plan for the first trek through the house. I think I want to go through 4 times so I can start from every one of the starting points, but that means 16 books, and while 16 books in a month is quite easy for me, it's 16 books that adhere to prompts. So we'll see. I'm not sure about that. I have also finally watched the video for Magical Hopperthon by Rachel Serris, and that's not how you pronounce her name. I think Rachel Serris, maybe? I'm not sure. I'm sorry, Rachel. And that sounds flipping incredible. I can't wait to do this one. It's based on Disney World, or I think California maybe, I'm not sure. And there are 4 parks, and you have to read a book to get in, and then you can hop between the parks, but before you leave each park you have to have read 3 books. So 1 is a ride, 1 is a show, and 1 is a snack. So if you do all 4 parks plus the entrance, you could end up with 13 books, although you can double up the show and snack ones because, as Rachel says, you can eat a snack while you're at a show, but I don't want to do that because I don't really like doubling up. So yeah, that one will be really fun, and there are loads of different prompts for each ride and each show and everything, so I'm excited to start plotting out my TBR for that one. That one's going to be a difficult one to TBR because there are so many different prompts. So I'm going to have to make a spreadsheet or something, or take up quite a few pages in here. I'm very excited to do that one and Spoopathon. I'm on the Ghostbusters team for Spoopathon, which is Rose's team, and we're going to win. It's Friday morning and I am taking my sister to Swansea to start university. So it's like a 4-hour drive from here, and she's not ready yet because she only did half her packing. It's gonna be a long day because I'm driving her there to meet our parents, and then I'm gonna be driving back later today. So it's like 7 or 8 hours of driving today. Hopefully the way back I should be able to finish The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. I think I've got like 4.5-ish hours left of that on the audio, maybe 4. I finished Ghostwood Song by Erica Waters last night, and at first I thought it was going to be a 4, but it ended up being a 2.5 or a 2. I think it was a 2 that I rounded up to a 2.5. It just didn't do it for me. The atmosphere was great, but I didn't like the main character. I didn't like any of the side characters either. I just thought it was a bit lacking, and it was a really quick read because I was blasting through it because there wasn't much going on. There wasn't much payoff to all the build-up, but a lot of people seem to love it, so I think it's probably just a me problem. I just wanted more from the characters who felt quite flat. I've also started The Upper World by Femi Fadugba, which is a NetGalley e-arc, which I don't really know what it's about, to be honest. I'm 25% of the way through, but it's not clear what it's about, and I can't remember the synopsis. I'm not sure if I even read the synopsis. I must have at some point. So I'd like to finish that maybe today, if I get home in time for some of Rose's sprints, now that she's doing Patreon sprints on a Friday. I don't know what time I'm going to be home though. I don't know what time I'm going to be able to leave Swansea, so we'll see. I read that 25% yesterday during India's sprints, which I watched on catch up, and I think I managed 25% in it wasn't even a whole sprint, although I did start reading while she was talking for part of it. So yeah, I don't think that's going to be a long read. I've only got 3/4 of it left to go, which should be like an hour and a half at this rate. Yesterday was a very long day. I was woken up at 4:30 by the dog. My sister and I left at about 9:30. We made it to Swansea for just after 1 and had lunch with some of my family who live in Swansea. And yeah, after we moved her in, we set off quite late. I think it was 6 o'clock by the time we left. I didn't want to miss Rose's first Patreon reading sprints, so the minute it hit 7, I pulled into a service station to be there for the talking part of the sprints. I then drove and set timers for when the next talking bit was going to be, so I could keep pulling over to service stations. So yeah, I was still reading, so I finished The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. And yeah, that was a good book. I really enjoyed the fame trope and the whole reality dating show trope. I'm a bit annoyed with the narrators because they kept pronouncing the protagonist's name as Dave, so I thought he was called Dave and he's called Dev. So I don't know why they kept calling him that when that's not how you pronounce his name. The only Dev I know is Dev Patel, and I'm pretty sure he's not Dave Patel. Anyway, yeah, that was just a small gripe because I didn't reread the synopsis before I started reading the audiobook, so I had no idea until I finished it that he was called Dev. I enjoyed that. It was a 4 out of 5 for me. I eventually made it home at just after 11 because there were road closures on the M5, there were road closures on the M6. I got rerouted through every Birmingham suburb to get home, and then there was a bit of a tangle on the motorway with the lanes being closed, and I got flashed by the motorway camera when I was in a lane that had just closed. So I'm about to get a fine and my first ever points on my license, which is annoying, but I can't be bothered to care too much about it. I'm now reading The Upper World by Femi Fadugba on Kindle. This is my NetGalley e-arc. I'm now 82% through, and yeah, it's got quite good. There's a lot of physics involved, and it turns out the writer is a physicist with like a master's in quantum computing or something like that, and it's been sold as a film to Netflix, I think. It's quite confusing. There's a lot of like time travel talk, visions of the upper world, which is, I want to say Socrates or Aristotle, one of those guys described it. I remember I studied this. I did a whole bunch of classics modules as part of my degree. Whoever it is who came up with the theory of the cave where the prisoners are watching the shadows and they don't realise the real life outside. So you can tell that the author's really smart, and there are a couple of like dumber characters to give him an excuse to explain things through them. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. I've only got 18% left, so I'm gonna stop now and read. This just used one of my absolute least favourite tropes, or like things that happen in a book, which is when a character is like running for their lives and everything's really dramatic and they've got seconds to hide and they stop to kiss someone. No! Run away! Why are you kissing someone? This is not the time for romance. You're about to be killed. So get a move on. It is now 10:30 on Saturday night. I finished The Upper World by Femi Fadugba earlier today, and it was going really well. It was probably a solid 4 out of 5. And then I found the ending was a bit of a letdown. It ended up being a 3 out of 5. There was some really good, strong physics throughout the whole book. And then at the end, it just sort of seemed to go away. I don't really know what happened. It was working really well, and the physics was really well explained because the characters were using their friends to explain it to them so that the reader understood too. Then the ending just didn't make any sense to me. So I'm really disappointed. Well, I'm not really disappointed. I'm a bit disappointed by that one. I went in with really low hopes because I hadn't really heard anything about it. So yeah, 3 out of 5. It's still fine. It was a really quick read. A bit let down by the ending. I then have come back to Jade War at last. I've only read another 20 or so pages, but I'm trying not to rush this one, especially because the next one's not out till December anyway, although I have now found a way to get this one onto my TBR, so I do need to finish it before the end of the month, but I've got another 12 days for that. One more day off, and then I'm working extra long next week. A bit more work on my bookshelves today. There's still quite a bit of work to be done in my room in general. But yeah, I've got my TBR cart all stacked up. I've decided to use the bottom as like an unhaul shelf, and every time that's full, I will either take a load to charity or, I don't know, see if you guys want any of them. If it's not a favourite, I'm not that sentimental about keeping it. And yeah, I've got a lot of books on my shelf that I'm not going to want to keep them once I've read them. I think that is it for this weekly reading vlog. I haven't got as much read as I wanted to, but I'm still making good progress with my TBRs for Magical Readathon and for the Hopperthon. Typical, when I have a week off, I end up doing less reading. If you enjoyed this vlog, please remember to give me a like and a comment. Just a little book emoji down in the comments if you don't know what else to say. And I will see you in the next one.